All right, well, good morning, everybody, and welcome. My name is Al, and I'm going to be the MC today, and I'm pleased to welcome you into our community center. I'm also pleased to welcome those who are watching live on YouTube and Facebook. Since 2014, Kansas City Oasis has been the premier secular alternative to faith-based communities. We welcome all, regardless of beliefs, non-beliefs, race, gender, sexual orientation, identity, or any other trait. We feel the human experience is better when it's shared, and we are pleased that you have chosen to share your time with us this morning. As is our month-old tradition, starting on the first Sunday of the month, instead of reading through our 5 core values, which are there in case you're curious and haven't seen them before, we're going to go through our mission statement, which is to educate members in the values of humanism, provide social support to the community, produce educational programs like the one you're going to hear today for the general public, and to engage in acts of charitable service. We do have a great program today. We've got Gary Jenkins, who's going to be speaking on the Civella-Spero mob war of the 1970s. We've got great music from Jocelyn and Olivia Nixon, and our community moment from our one and only Julie Manning. But before we get to the community moment, we're going to have some music, and I saw Jocelyn earlier, so now I'm going to sit here and just sort of bullshit until she comes up. Oh, here she comes. So here's Jocelyn entering in now, and just in time as we get ready to kick things off. A little bit about Jocelyn. She is in the band The Creepy Jingles, which is a pretty cool name. It's a Kansas City-based she's a Kansas City-based transgender singer-songwriter whose music blends pop, folk, and indie to explore themes of identity, love, and resilience. With powerful lyrics rooted in her journey of self-acceptance, Jocelyn addresses modern relationship complexities and their struggle for genuine connection, inviting listeners into her world. Her artistry celebrates diversity and authenticity, making her a rising voice in the music scene. And please give a big Oasis welcome to Jocelyn Nixon.
Apologies for being late. I was just getting sick. All right, this is my first song. I guess the first couple songs I'm going to do are about being transgender in America. Sorry, hang on a second. Crooked smiles, judge with their Bibles. The New Age trial sentence you with their right vote. They cut my queer throat. Editor's side note, we do. Ooh, 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 got nowhere to go, so fight for your sake. Bull shark white men are in the deep end and recommend your life to you. Hate-fueled anger, creating danger when life is strange out of the blue. Woo, 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 got nowhere to go, so fight for your sake. Hardware upgrade, construction prepaid. My haters throw shade, make room to blue, woo, 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 woo. Got nowhere to go, so fight. I've got nowhere to go, so fight. I've got nowhere to go, so fight for your sake. Kick my cattle and slap my steer. You must not be around from here now. Strangers don't belong. Don't think you're right. You must be wrong, 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 wrong. You sound different than all my kin. Shock the women and scare the men. You sing a different song. Don't think you're right. You must be wrong, 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 wrong. So think about the way that I feel, and it makes me question what's fake and what's real. But I know, don't. But I know, don't. There's something about the way that I feel, and it makes me question what's fake and what's real. You sound different than all my kin. Shock the women and scare the men. You sing a different song. Well, if you're right, I must be wrong, 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 wrong. Thank you.
And as you can see, there's plenty of places to follow Jocelyn and the Creepy Jingles online. Instagram, Facebook, Spotify, YouTube, all the normal stuff. And also remember, you can cash tip over here as well as Venmo. We got a couple of things to celebrate. One is a couple of birthdays. Grace and Nathan coming up this week. Give them a round of applause. Any of them here? And another big celebration. I think it's 44 years? 45? Roger and Mary Alyssa over there. So if you want to know the secret to a long, happy marriage, there you go. All right. Celebrating our Volunteer of the Week, Amy Varney has been a part of Oasis community from the beginning and always willing to lend a hand when needed. You will most often see her behind the cameras. She helps get ready for every Sunday by making coffee and drinks. Amy comes to our Saturday work days to help keep the building in shape. And when there's a blood drive, Amy shows up to donate her universally friendly O negative blood. So give it. And speaking of volunteers, we can always use more. So if you're looking for ways to participate in different ways for what Oasis has got going on, we've got a number of different committees and different ways that you can volunteer. Some of them take place here on Sunday mornings, some of them during the week. Pride, different events going on, everything from cleaning to building maintenance, all kinds of great stuff that you can volunteer with. So whatever talent you have or don't have and want to develop, we're always looking for volunteers. We have a sign-up Genius where you can sign up for all the different events that are going on. There's a whiteboard in the lobby for various things, and just talk to anybody when we announce different events, which we're going to be doing in a minute because we have a lot of them that are going on. So we're always happy to have more volunteers. But we also do a lot of other stuff, including teaching dance. Not all of us, just Will, but he's going to be teaching dance. So if you're interested in learning, I'll probably butcher it wrong, but I think it's bachata. You don't have to have a partner. You can do this one on your own if you'd like, or with a partner. I guess it works either way. $10 for the beginning class, and it'll be right here inside the community center. And you can talk to Will Manning, and he can get you signed up for that. And it'll be a lot of fun. If you don't know how to dance, you can learn. And if you do know how to dance, you can try something new. And that's going to be the 5th, 12th, 19th, and 26th. I think you can go to all of them every Thursday. So every Thursday here from 6 to 7 p.m. All right. So we got Pride Fest coming up, and if you're an ally and you would like to support Pride, we are hosting an event, an info table on June 6th through the 8th for those who are trying to participate. And I think somebody was going to talk, was asking about like where the event is located, like where's the table. So there's 4-hour shifts. I think some of them have been signed up for, but if you want to be able to sign up for them, definitely please do so. If somebody's got a shift that you can cover and you can't do any other ones, maybe they can swap out, different things like that. So definitely feel free to talk to them. Sign up online, talk to Julie Manning, or the cool little dinosaur dude in the corner. That's a QR code. Take your phone, take a picture of it, and it'll take you to whatever web page is where you can go ahead and do the sign up for that. And if you don't want to sit at the table, or you want to sit at the table but do some other cool stuff, you can actually participate in the parade. We're looking for people to hold the banners, not that banner because we got a brand new one that's really cool, and as well as just participate, get in the costumes and everything all set up. Again, Julie Manning is the main point of contact for that one. So if you want to be invited to participate on the float, help get the float ready, do all those kind of preparation stuff, all kinds of great info on there, and for the entire weekend to be able to participate and do some cool stuff over there. Speaking of some cool stuff, Casey Oasis is going to be having a little bit of happy hour, enjoyed fun time, Friday, June 20th from 8 to midnight at Funky Town over in Blue Parkway over in Kansas City side, so enjoy that over there. It's a $15 cover charge, and I believe it's cash only for the cover and for the bar, so hit the ATM first. And the fifth Sunday of the month, for those who haven't been here before, we do our programming, except the fifth Sunday of the month is always a little bit different. We do a service Sunday, and this month is no different. We will be doing a blood drive in partnership with Community Blood Center. If you can use the QR code to sign up in advance and have a time slot reserved for you, so you can come right in, and they'll be able to take care of you right away. In addition to that, we don't have a slide for it, but if you know Jill back there, she is going to be leading a plarn, which is plastic yarn. They're going to be making different blankets and things. A lot of that, I believe, gets donated to Micah, learning how to use all of those things. And so what the plarn will be doing is made into sleeping mats for the unhoused. And I can tell you, having been over at Micah for a while, they love them. They can roll them up easily. They are fairly weatherproof because they're plastic. They do a lot of really good, and they're always very popular when they come in. And so if you're interested in doing that as well, and you can do both, do one or the other, but that's going to be on June 29th, and it'll be here in the community center. Additionally, because June 29th is just going to be one hell of a busy Sunday, we've got a book club taking place after our program, and the book of the month is going to be An American Marriage by Tiari Jones. Remember, if you're going to participate in the book club, we do ask that you read the book before you go there, because it makes conversation so much better when people actually know about the book that they're talking about. Otherwise, they're just making up shit, which is what I do, and it turns out that's not valuable at all. A couple of weeks ago, we were going to do the monthly musical with Chicago, but it turns out that the weather was absolute dog shit, and so we did not do that. So we're rebooking Chicago for Monday, June 30th. That'll be here from 6 to however long the music is and all that kind of fun stuff. So definitely enjoy. Bring some snacks. Bring a couple of drinks if you like. We'll have comfy seating, and we'll be all singing along to Chicago. And again, probably I think the movie is going to start, or musical is going to start around 6, so you might want to get here a little bit early, like maybe 5:30-ish or something around there. And because I say a whole lot of crap, and I'm naturally caffeinated, which means I say it really damn fast, you might be thinking, God damn, I missed some of that. It's okay. We have an event newsletter that you can sign up for that Lisa puts out every week. It's not going to be spammed. It's just once a week. It's got great information, and you can read it at your own pace instead of this, the launch that I do over here, right? So if you want to, you can go to our website, click on the What's Happening, the newsletter. If that's too much, just click on the dinosaur thing with your camera, and it'll take you to that same page where you can sign up for it. And that brings me to the short break of me running my mouth, because Julie Manning is going to come on and give us a great community moment. I think we've got some good warnings for her. She's aggressively helpful, and she's also approachable, dance-tastic, and yeah, most of the time glittery. So I think that works.
I'm not very glittery today.
But we'll make it work.
What do I have on my? No, those are glasses.
We'll get her some glitter over there. So.
Okay, I need bling. Yay! Thanks, Al. I was at the greeter desk, and I was like, oh my gosh, I forgot how fun this is. So plug for greeter volunteers if you want to do that. It's like, oh, I haven't made you a name tag, and you've asked for 3 weeks in a row? Sure. But we're going to talk about ripples and glimmers today. And you're like, what are you talking about? That is a great question. That's why I'm here. So people will often comment to me that like, oh my gosh, you have so much energy. Or like, how do you just do the go, go, go? And I'm like, well, I don't know, especially if I'm at work. I found that with my career as a nurse, you can't work too much. You're like, but the incentive pay for this shit. I'm like, but no, resting, those things. And then also joy of being a mom and the times I spent volunteering, all of those things kind of pour into my heart to make me the hopefully happy, joyful person that I am. Talk to Will, and he'll tell you, be like, not all the time. Not all the time. And my kids are here too, so they're part of my joy. Hi. Olivia drove here, by the way, all the way from Shawnee. Woohoo! She's like, oh my gosh, okay, we're not going to talk about that. Okay, so I want to introduce the concepts of ripples and glimmers for you. Ripples are the impact that we make on others. So you can see in the little picture here, it starts with one drop or one action, and it kind of travels outward from there. So these are the impact we leave on others, especially the good ones. They're echoes of kindness, patience, and presence. And then glimmers are kind of the opposite of like, oh, they triggered me, right? So glimmers are those happy, tiny, joyful sparks that happen, and you're like, oh, and my heart grew 3 sizes that day. So they kind of just make your chest feel light and make your heart feel full. So as you kind of think through think about those ripples and glimmers you've had in your own mind. And this is going to be a boring background for a second, and then we'll do other fun things, because I didn't know what to put on there, so that's what it was. All right, so like I said, ripples are the impact we have on others. Let me tell you a story. As many of you know, I used to be a nursing instructor, kind of different schools all throughout the metro. I was a really big fan of making nursing something that was fun, silly, and memorable, when it was appropriate, of course, you know. But especially when I was the teacher and helping a student be like, I just don't get this, or whatever. I was like, okay, one time in band camp, and then they'd be like, oh my God, stop, but keep going. And then they'd remember it the next time. So it was really important for me to break things down to easy to understand analogies, and that way they help get that overall concept in their brains like forever, not just for the test today, right? So I want to tell you a story called, How's Your Butthole Doing? So if buttholes bother you, you should probably like zone out or go out in the lobby for a little while. We're going to say the word butthole a couple times. So at first you're like, why in the world did this come up? It came up. There is many conditions where a patient might need to have a surgery for an ostomy, and that makes a little bag on the outside of their abdomen. A lot of you are nodding your heads like, oh yeah, I've seen that before. Sometimes it's permanent, sometimes it's temporary, but regardless, when you think through it, you're like, but what's happening with their butthole? So a student asks, we're in our post-conference after the end of our day. Patient says, or a student says, yeah, so Mrs. Manning, what do I do? Do I need to look at it? Like, I'm like, you tell me, do you think you should? And they're like, probably, yeah. I'm like, yeah, probably. Or at least just ask them, like, hey, how is it? Is this normal for you? Are you having anything come out of there? And so we talked about what types of things were normal. I won't get into that with our non-medical crew. But I said, yeah, you basically, if you have a patient with an ostomy, you need to ask them, how's your butthole doing? And they're like, I'm not going to say that to someone. And I'm like, okay, I know. I'm saying that to you because it's funny. And then you'll remember. So I kid you not. We made like a challenge amongst all the, 8 students I had in my group. The first one, who was that day that we talked about it, and then every single student between now and the end of the semester was like, oh, Miss Manning, I got to ask a patient how their butthole was doing today. And I'm like, yes, tell me everything. And then they'd kind of go through it. And I kid you not, by the end of the semester, every single one of them had found a professional, nurse student appropriate way to say, how's your butthole doing today? So I wanted to put a picture in it, and I started it at work, and you know how that goes. But I made a sticker. I don't know if you guys know this. You can go online to custom sticker, whatever. And I made a sticker that says, how's your butthole doing? Because I'm like, if they put it in a drawer and they see it once every 10 years, fine. If they put it on a water, like this, if they put it on a water bottle, so they were all just elated with this sticker. And I got a text, I kid you not, 2 years after this class. And it was from Maddie, love Maddie. And she says, oh my gosh. I said, okay, now that you guys are graduating, you have to call me Julie, because I'm probably not going to answer to Mrs. Manning in the real world, right? So she says, Julie, it's Maddie. Guess what? I got to tell the how's your butthole doing story today because I had it on my water bottle. And I'm like, yes. So it was one of those things. You guys understand how this is going. Ripples is the butthole conversation. Here, you can share this story if you need to, right? And then the glimmer is that Maddie texting me to say, hey, I got to share this story with someone, and I thought of you. And it just made my heart feel so full that day, okay? So there's one fun story. And keep me on time, because I didn't practice this. I just do things. Okay, so here's another cool nursing story glimmer thing. This is a text. I redacted just a couple of things. It says, February 2024. last year, okay? Hey, Julie, I was your student from previous years ago at Johnson County. I wanted to reach out and say that thanks for believing me when I was ready to quit in semester 3. I'm one of the charge nurses in the main OR at a local hospital, and one of the few nurses that scrubs in for trauma cases. This past few weeks has been my most trying and emotional. We had an active shooter situation one day. This was right after the, what was the parade thing for the Chiefs where there was active shooters? This was right after that, the same week. We had an active shooter situation one day and many gunshots over several days. I was the nurse for an organ procurement and would later find out that the patient's daughter was a nurse at KU, which is where I work. She says, then of course the mass casualties event on Wednesday. We got 8 gunshots, 4 trampling patients, and I wanted you to know that after all was said and done, I drove home that night and thought about nursing school and how I thought at the time it was going to be hard, and you helped me get through it to right now. I was part of the mass casualty event here in our home city, and we saved lives. Thanks for your kindness to get me through so I could be where I am now. And that is like the most powerful story I think I've heard in years. And the fact that she reached out to me just to say thank you for being my teacher. This was a student who was already like a full grown-up. Like I have my own kids, and it's not like just straight from high school to college, right? And she really struggled a lot more administratively with like the nursing instructor bureaucracy. But I was like, dude, I'm just gonna call you. And I'm like, okay, we have some choices. You didn't do well on your test. Here's what we can do. And I just hashed it out. Like, this is real life. And she passed her test. She graduated. She's like, fuck you guys, I'm not coming to graduation. That's fine. But here she is, literally a world-class hero in our own city. And I was just absolutely blown away with the fact that she would credit any of that to me. But I'm like, maybe I deserve just a little bit. I don't know. Just a little bit. And then we hung out and had breakfast, and she's a wonderful human. Okay. Intentional kindness. In a world where you can be anything, choose to be kind. We all kind of know that. But this is kind of talking about a little bit more about those ripples. We may never see the full extent of our ripples, but that doesn't make them any less real. For all I know, the students that I had are preceptors now, and they're telling their own students or new grads or whoever, like, okay, you gotta ask them how's their butthole doing. One time, I had this crazy instructor, right? So it's like, you never know how far out it's gonna go. Okay, here's a fun story about a glimmer. Again, these are, the ripples are what we give, the glimmers are what we receive. And I have my 2 beautiful daughters here. You guys know them well, they're here a lot. And I was thinking about a time where we had pulled out, it was basically a wet bar in our basement. We just moved in, and I'm like, we just collect junk here, it's not helpful, let's rip it out and make it into like an exercise space. We also don't use that, it's fine. But we had to like, demo the wall and everything. So we're changing out some almond colored wall outlets to white so that it matches. And of course I say Olivia, who is probably 4 of 10 at the time, I'm showing her how to put together the new outlet plugin. And so, I do a demo, and I'm like, okay, you do that one. I'm like, you doing good? She's like, yeah, I think I got it. And I'm doing one down low, and she's like, oh, I'm stuck. I don't think I can get it. I'm like, okay, Peanut, I got both my hands on this. I can help you as soon as I'm done. So you can just wait for me, or if you want, just keep fiddling with it. Just keep trying. Like, power was off. We had all the safety things done. And then, I kid you not, I finished with my thing, and she goes, oh, I did it! So, where's my clicker? Okay. So here's Olivia. This is her working on the wiring. And this is her with the completed outlet. And she was only 10, you guys. She was only 10. How many of you give your 10-year-old electrical things? I'm like, oh, good luck. It'll be fine. I explained it once. She did so well. And then this picture up here, I know the lighting's a little weird, but that's Zoe. This is my now 12-year-old. And I figured out, can you see that picture? It's a cup washer. So you kind of put your cup down on it, and it sprays water up into it. It's helpful for like smoothies and bottles and cups and bowls of yogurt and whatever. So I figured out they're only $20 on Amazon. And I was like, I have $20. I want one right now. So we swapped out the soap, And Zoe's like, Mommy, it's 9 o'clock at night. I have school tomorrow. Can I help you with this right now? I'm like, yep, sure can. Don't tell your dad. So I'm so glad she was there because her tiny little baby arms could go behind it's like, here's the sink, and then they want you to be like, right there. It's very difficult. And I was like, I'm just gonna read the steps to you, and she did the whole thing by herself. So, yay, clap for Zoe. So you can see her, elation in the photo. But these are those glimmers that I get from my own kids, from my students. I could tell you 100 stories about people here at Oasis as well. My friend Tyler came on Sunday for our picnic, and then all week he's been like, I'm feeling so much better. And those are those glimmers you get about the actions that you put forth into the world. So one of the things I want to also point out is it's not just, those are kind of some of the bigger things in my life that I'm thankful for, but it's also little tiny things like your cup of coffee, or man, I walked down these stairs and I didn't even trip, whatever it might be. Casey just shared one this morning that she got up and made breakfast and then went to the store and then did meal prep for her breakfast before Oasis today. I'm like, whoa, what kind of coffee did you have? Because I want some. So we just basically are looking at training your brain to notice those glimmers. If I'm not a news watcher, I know Robbie's mad at me every day because I don't like to watch the news, but I don't do that because I want to notice the happy things in my life and not be like, and then someone killed another person. Yay. That's not what I want to put in my brain. I'm a big believer that part of my self-care is trying to be careful about what do I put in my heart, because that's what's going to come out of my heart in return. Am I time? Am I good? No. Okay. So the question is, are you paying attention? So ways that you can kind of train your awareness to notice those glimmers and then therefore be more prompted to make more ripples is just a matter of your self-care. It helps with your resilience, especially when we have all of those emotional days. I'm sure maybe some of you guys work in the medical field, but you might just be crunching. I know Amy's working a lot of overtime right now. Everybody has those stressors in their life, and figuring out how your ripple can help whatever situation you're in, and then noticing those glimmers really, really does make a huge impact based on my personal experience for how that whole, wear and tear on your heart goes. So one idea is if you want to be noticing those ripples and glimmers a little bit more often, is you can just do a little journal. It doesn't have to be in a piece of paper. It could be in your phone. You could just talk to a friend, a partner, a cat, a dog, whoever about it, and just ask yourself, what ripples did I make today? Did I make an awesome joke in the elevator? Happens every day. That, was just engaging with the teammates around me. And that was a ripple of, they're off to their lunch break, and maybe they'll just have a little pep in their step for a little while. And then just being mindful and present in those interactions where I started a ripple, and I'm just gonna be here right now to enjoy watching it happen. So, things like watching Olivia play volleyball with her team for middle school. None of the middle schoolers are amazing volleyball players yet. They will be, but it just brings me so much joy because I see her cute little face and she's hitting the ball. It's just a weird, maybe it's a parent thing, I don't know. Okay, so this, you guys all recognize this from The Grinch's smell heart grew 3 sizes that day. And apart from my concerns about cardiomegaly, that's kind of what we hope for, right? Is let's be healthy in our cardiac health. But we also want to live in a way that leaves ripples of kindness and gathers glimmers of joys all throughout our family and our community, our oasis, our work, our city, however big that you want to go. Because in the end, it's not about the grand gestures, but the small, consistent acts of love that will shape our world. And that's it.
So, Sarah, I've got an idea for a new question our greeters can ask. I'll let that sit there. All right, we're going to go on to our coffee break. So we're taking 20 minutes, and you can go check how your butthole's doing, I guess, if you want to. Oh, yeah. So Gary, who's going to be our speaker on the Civella-Spero, I can't remember, has got merchandise over here. So if you'd like to take a look at some of the books there, please do during your 20-minute coffee break. And I will see you, I don't know, 19 minutes, 59 seconds, 58, 57. Resuming our program here, we're going to welcome Jocelyn back to the stage here. And while she comes up, first I just want to say this. If you've ever been sick and then still had to perform, that's a fucking amazing feat of strength. So hats off to that. And then for other performances, what do you got coming up you can tell us about?
Next Saturday, I'm going to be at Lawrence Pride with the Creepy Jingles on the 7th. I think it's around 3:30. So there'll be a stage there in the middle of Mass Street. And then on the 14th, I'm going to be at Boulevardia with the Creepy Jingles. So
Sounds good.
I guess I'll do a Creepy Jingle song for you that we put out last year. It's called Love Like You. You keep me at a distance and challenge my persistence. A love like you, airing out our business, suspicious and malicious. A love like you, a love like you. Oh, you make it so hard. Guard up your guard, burned by the games, explainers of your campaign cause me pain while I still hold the flame. Funny you don't mention the thread and pull intention. A love like you, a love like you. Oh, I had to move on, 'cause you're just withdrawn. Staying tight-lipped, tripped, and now the man tried to circumvent, but looks like you just skipped. I wait around in surround sound in my hometown. I found something profound. I am not a beggar, but I'm here to claim my treasure. A love like you, 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 a love like you. Thank you.
And remember, follow all of the socials so you can learn more about upcoming events, including the ones next week and further on. All right. Our program is designed to generate conversation, engage our powers of reason, not as a forum to start debates. The following presentation has been prepared by our speaker and not by Case Oasis, and so please respect the views of our speaker, and if we got some time, there'll be some Q&A at the end. Who is our speaker? Gary Jenkins retired from the Kansas City Police Department in 1996 after a 25-year career, during which he investigated organized crime for 14 years. He attended the University of Missouri Kansas City Law School and was admitted to the Missouri Bar in 2000. Over the past decade, Gary has produced 5 documentary films, including one on today's topic. Gary has also written 5 books, a number of which are right here along with the documentary for sale. And so please welcome Gary Jenkins.
All right. Thanks to Denise for inviting me back. Thanks to Jocelyn for that great song. And that title, that very first song, says it all. I don't know if you remember it, but it says it all. You know, when I go to do one of these programs, my wife always gives me a look, and she says, well, you look like you know what you're doing. So I hope I look like I know what I'm doing. Just have to point out something. It's Civella. There's an A at the end of that. That's all right. That's my documentary I did about this, Strippers, Bombs, and Murder. We're going to take a little walk on the dark side after that last upbeat program. We're going to go down under into the dark side, the seamy underbelly of Kansas City. I'll talk about the Spero brothers. And one thing I always like to say is I have caught a little flack online. I'm kind of big in Facebook, my Gangland Wire Facebook page, and a lot of fans out there. And I've caught a little flack about, well, you always say bad things about Italians. Well, kind of the deal is when in the turn, and it's relevant today is why I say this, the turn of the century, conditions in southern Italy and Sicily were bad. People were starving. There was opportunity in the United States. So they started flogging in the United States, and we welcomed them because we need the help. But when they get here, the people are already here, the Irish and the English, we already got the jobs lined, sewed up. And we're not letting these newcomers in. They're darker, they speak another language. And so we're not going to let these newcomers in, just like today. And these guys, when they came, they just want a piece of the American pie. They just want to have this success that we have in this country. And they bring and somewhat like today with the cartels, they bring this little clique of criminals who have this organization that they called the Mafia, or La Cosa Nostra, or the 'Ndrangheta, or the Camorra in Italy and Sicily, southern Italy and Sicily, and they bring that nucleus with them, and those guys, they continue doing what they were doing over there. And then Prohibition comes along, just like drugs come along, and there's huge amounts of money to be made in Prohibition. And so then they're able to buy political power. They're then able to move in and get their piece of the American pie. So, this isn't, all Italians are not criminals, I guess is what I'm trying to say. There's this little nucleus that came over and started this thing and made all this money out of Prohibition, and that's why we ended up with this here. 4 brothers grew up over northeast. They were kind of like the R gang over around 5th and Troost, if you know Columbus Park. Nick's the oldest, be Mike, Joe, and then Carl was the youngest. There's 3 Civella brothers, Carl, Cork. Nick Civella was the boss of the La Cosa Nostra, the family, La Familia here in Kansas City. Nick is the boss. His brother is kind of the hot-headed one. That's why they called him Cork, because he'd pop like a cork. He would pop off. Nick was more like, he was playing chess while everybody else was playing checkers. And then they had their main enforcer, who was their brother-in-law, Carl Tuffy DeLuna. Then they had another main enforcer, who was Willie the Rat Comisano, who had a big crew. And they were thieves and burglars and killers, and they kind of like did a lot of the street crime. Nick Spero, he's in the Teamsters. Teamsters were dominated by the Mafia. I think anybody that's read anything about organized crime over the 1960s and 70s, the Teamsters were pretty well controlled by the mob, nationally. Nick Spero, he's kind of getting in with the mob, and he goes to Yellow Freight, gets a job, and they really like him. He sets up a deal where it looks like they lost a load of liquor, and then he gets it back, so he gets an even better job. It gives him an opportunity to set up loads, and eventually they figure out what's going on over at Yellow, and they let him go. Nick Spero was not a guy that fit in well with the mob. The mob, Nick Civella refused to let any of his men have facial hair or wear anything, basically. It's like a uniform, Sansabelt slacks, polo shirts, and leather coats, and a fedora or a snap brim hat. Nick Spero did not like that regimentation. He was his own man. He once was interviewed and asked why he didn't join the mob, and his answer was, "I ain't no jockstrap and don't want to be one. They use you till your stretch is all gone, then forget about you. I'm always been my own man. The only man I ever answered to was my father, and he's dead." So he's in with the mob, and he's setting up loads, and they're fencing the stuff. But he's like has his own action on the side, and maybe not. Well, you have to kick up a tribute if you're involved with these guys, and you got any action, you got to kick up a little tribute. He's not doing that. He's also, it's the 70s. He's starting to let his hair grow. Nick Civella hates that. The other guys are saying, here's an informant telling the FBI that Nick Spero is considered an outcast because he went hippie. He had kind of flowery pants that he was wearing and bell bottoms and long hair and facial hair. And they did not like that. They didn't trust him. All of a sudden, he's dead. Find him in the trunk of his yellow Cadillac up north of the river and in the village of Oakview. Well, his younger brother, Carl Spero, was in prison at that time, but shortly after Nick's killed. And you got to understand, in a city like this, if a guy like Nick Spero is killed and found in the trunk of his car north of the river, who did it? Who had to approve of it? You don't kill somebody in a city like this, or Chicago or New York, that's connected without the approval of the boss. Youngest brother is a lot like the oldest brother, even more of a rebel, though. He's released from prison shortly after his brother's killed. He starts recruiting gangsters. They set a bomb in the back of the trap, which is in 5th and Truce. It's called the Columbus Park Social Club or the Northview Social Club. It's kind of a little place where guys played cards. We'd drive by and get license numbers. I sat many an hour at the Garrison Community Center in the attic up there, writing down license numbers and radioing down to the FBI who was in and who was out. Because if you've got a hidden microphone inside of a place, they need to know who's inside the place. And the only way you could sit on it and see who was there without being burnt was in the attic of the Garrison Community Center. So anyhow, the trap, somebody put a bomb on the back door just to scare people, just to say, hey, I'm here. At this time, we're running a surveillance at a little place at Gregory and Truce. There's a used car lot. And we see some people come in. They see, I won't drop too many names here, it gets confusing. We see Carl Spero, we see other names and other people that we figure out who they are coming in and meeting with Carl. We find out, we develop an informant out of that. He says, oh yeah, he said, he got this guy, really a bad guy out of the penitentiary to do stuff for him. His name was Leonard Crago, called him the Arab. And, so we gathered that intelligence, but, you don't know what to do with it, but you've got it. Now you know. We talked to another guy who said, yeah, he's putting together a crew. He's putting together a group, and he's saying that he's going against the Civellas. So if I can find that out, Nick Civella and Carl Civella and Tuffy DeLuna can find that out. So they know that he's coming for them, mainly because of his oldest brother. Here's a little clip from my documentary. Oh, I'm sorry. I did that wrong.
Tell Nick Civella the Arab is back in town.
The Kansas City Police Intelligence Unit learns of a used car lot where Carl Spero has been seen meeting with Leonard Crago and other members of his newly formed gang.
Our Sergeant Larry Wisher, assigned myself and my partner Bobby Arnold to go check out a used car lot. This car lot was really hard to sit on. We were supposed to find Carl Spero out there meeting people. We noticed a cemetery right across the street. And I think Bobby had the idea. We went over and talked to the manager of the cemetery and said, hey, would you set up a funeral tent like there was going to be a funeral, only cover all four sides? Leave it there for about a week. We want to watch the place across the street. He said, sure, that'll be fine. We watched him through the flaps of the tent, so I'm coming and going, saw a lot of his associates coming and going. We figured we'd be burnt after a week or so, but, we weren't. And after about 8 or 9 days, we just decided to give it up and figured we'd gotten all we could get.
You gotta get a guy, you gotta sleep with the You gotta go where he goes. You gotta sit, watch. You gotta sit, watch, work where he goes, what he does. You gotta be sitting a half a block away or a block away.
I thought that clip, that was from an actual wiretap. I had to do a reenactment because I didn't have the actual audio. So how they work, how Nick Civella was wanting his guys to go after the Speros, those Speros that were left, was to sit and watch and wait, just like we sit and watch and wait on them. I thought that was really interesting. And so this Leonard Krigo robs a thing called the B&C Meat Company down about 8th and Paseo, later to become the Mohawk Meat Company, I believe. That was Brandemeyer and Civella. So Al Brandemeyer ran this meat company. It was like they'd get in local cows and butcher them up, and restaurants would come in and buy cuts of meat for the restaurants, and people in the neighborhood would. And they robbed him. He was a bookie, so he had a lot of cash money there. He got about $10,000 off of him, and he put him in the trunk of his car, and that was a little reenactment at the start. And this Krigo did it because he put him in the trunk of his car, Al Brandemeyer, and he stepped back, and he had 2 guns, and he started shooting into the trunk. And he yelled, "You tell Nick Civella to the Arabs back in town." They all called him the Arab. It's like, wow. I mean, anybody that knew anything would know the Arab was Leonard Krigo in this city at that point in time. And talk about sending a message. So the message, the Civellas returned their message. One night at the Virginia Tavern at Admiral, Virginia, all 3 Spero brothers are in there: Carl, Mike, and Joe. There's 3 left. Nick's dead. Can't tell the players without a scorecard here and get them mixed up. But all those 3 brothers are in there. A couple of our guys actually drove by, saw Carl Spero at the payphone up front. They just kept on going because we knew that they were stalking each other. So they drive on down the street to another tavern where the Civellas hang out a lot, just to see who was down there, write down license plate numbers. They get several blocks away, about over to Independence and Prospect at the Villa Capri, and they hear a call come out, shooting at the Virginia Tavern. They turn around and run right back, and they find Carl Spero laying out in the middle of Admiral Boulevard. Nick and Bobby jump out, or Tommy Joe. Nick and Tommy Joe, these 2 coppers, jump out and say, "Hey, who did this?" He said, "I ain't talking to you. I'm not going to say." So they go inside and they find that Mike's been killed and Joe's wounded. What happened was 3 masked guys came in the back door, probably about the time our guys were driving by. Came in the back door, and 2 of them spun off to the left where Joe and Mike were sitting, the other 2 brothers, and just started shooting at them. Carl Spero was up by the front door. He drops that payphone. He heads out across Admiral Boulevard. The 3rd man with a shotgun runs out the front door and gets him as he crosses Admiral Boulevard. So it's on now. I mean, some serious stalking's going on now. There's the front of the Virginia Tavern that night. We were down there watching it months later. Carl Spero's been paralyzed. He's back out. We're down there watching it, and we're kind of ganged up. There's nothing going on. You get bored, and you don't really spray. You kind of gang up and start talking, but we could see the street behind it. So if anybody drove in behind it, we'd see who it was. And Carl's down there by himself. And we see this car drive around the block, and we say, "Well, it looks like Joe Ragusa's car." And then we don't see him for a long time. So then we see another car pull down that same street going toward the Virginian, and there's 3 guys in it, and we don't really recognize the car. It just, how the hairs stand up on the back of your neck. There's something not right here. So we spread out, and we get all around and start moving in closer, because we can't just let him walk in and kill him, can we? That's a decision that nobody knows how to make. You call in and ask your bosses, "No, I don't know. You can't let him kill him." So we move in closer, and as we drive by, I pulled out on Admiral Boulevard, and I look up, and that car we didn't recognize with 3 guys in is right behind me. So I go on up to Paseo. I turn south on Paseo. They turn right, and they go south on Paseo. Get down to 12th Street, and it's 4-lane. I'm in 2 lanes. I'm in the right lane. So they're still behind me, and I've got my radio down between my legs so they can't see it, and I'm radioing those other guys. I said, "Hey, these guys are over here. We're going toward south on Paseo, and they're trying to get a uniformed car over to stop them." Because we're in plain clothes. We look like this in what they are. We used to buy former rental cars as undercover cars. So, you want to be real careful jumping out of a car with a gun when you're doing that. But yet, they might think we're some of the Speros. So they get right next to me, and the light changes, and they turn left going east on 12th Street. And they just kind of glance over as I start to go straight because I don't want to burn. I think we'll get this uniform car here, and we'll get them stopped, and maybe we'll get guns in the car. And I look over, and there's Tuffy Luna just kind of looking over at me, staring, just kind of a half a grin on his face. They take a left, and they are gone. They're eastbound and down and gone. We never saw them again. And the uniform car gets there in about 5 minutes, of course. Missed out on some glory there, interrupted a mob hit. So Sparrows are now going to strike back. We're about a year later. Better watch my time here. About a year later, and Joe Sparrow is not really a criminal. Carl is a criminal. Carl is paralyzed. Carl is hanging out at a strip club in Kansas called the Red Apple all the time, making contacts over there. We used to sit over there and watch him and go in once in a while and see. Like we go in and then the girls come over and want to give you a lap dance and get money out of you. And my guys are going, I got my guys, me too. Like, okay, we're good here. And they like the TV, I'll tell you right now. And Carl's in there a lot. And when we're following him, we had a brand new Ford Bronco because it was winter, it was snowing. And the Bureau, FBI, had rented us a Ford Bronco. It was four-wheel drive. So we didn't have to worry about that. And four-wheel drives were basically unheard of in 1976 and 77 unless you were out in the mountains or something. And we parked that Bronco out in the parking lot and go in. Well, I had an informant a few months later said, hey, you guys used to follow Carl Sparrow over to Red Apple? Well, yeah. I mean, everybody kind of knew it by then. He said he was a full-fledged criminal himself. He was a car thief. He said, did you guys used to have a tan Bronco? I said, well, Porky's name, we called him Porky. Porky, why do you ask? He said, well, I was in there with Carl one night, and he told me that there was a tan Bronco, brand new tan Bronco out in the parking lot, and if I'd steal it, and this guy could steal it, he said, if I'd steal it, he'd give me a pretty good price for it. And I thought, oh my God, that was our tan Bronco. That'd be pretty good. My informant would know about this right away, too. I don't know what you do with that one, but when you're trying to be cool and catch him with the bigger things. But in the midst of that, like he hires a guy over there that gets dynamite out of Arkansas. He hires another guy over there in some of these little meetings he has who can build a remote-controlled detonated bomb. But he doesn't talk to anybody but those guys. And on the other hand, it's on the right hand. On the left hand, he's got his brother Joe Sparrow, and he gets this bomb that he's had made by these other two, or by this one guy that he meets at he knows at the Red Apple, and he gives it to Joe. And then Joe has recruited a couple of guys who were what we call, in that world, if you're not Italian, you're a peckerwood. So he's gotten a couple of peckerwoods working with him. And one of them is already an informant for a guy in the white-collar crime. Here's one of the guys that worked that case. Oops.
Transferred to what they call the white-collar crime division and was given an informant by the name of Lyle Neal who had information pertaining to a bomb that was going to be used to take out various members of organized crime in Kansas City. The one target in particular was Tuffy DeLuna.
So Lyle Neal is telling us about every little step that they take. And this is Villa Capri. This is over at Independence and Prospect. This is where the Civellas hung out a lot. Well, just down the street was one of Joe Sparrow's recruits bar called the Lost Weekend.
1999, Joe Sparrow, Conrad Metz, and Lyle Neal placed a bomb under Tuffy DeLuna's car parked in front of the Villa Capri. When they saw Tuffy enter his car, Joe pushed the transmitter, and the three men stood in the doorway of Little Caesars and watched Tuffy drive away. Spero sent Conrad Metz to retrieve the unexploded bomb.
I think I named that tavern wrong. The Little Caesars was the name of it. Anyhow, so they're standing out, and they've got that remote control, and Tuffy gets in his car, and they go, and it won't go off. Well, that night, Joe takes that bomb home, and then he gets hold of the informant, Lyle Neal, and they're going to go test it. Well, Lyle Neal is... he is very nervous, shall we say. I'm not sure how to say it in polite company. Anyhow, he's very nervous. He's shitting bricks is what he's doing. He's nervous. And so he's on the phone with Clark Hamilton, his control in this. And he says, he wants to go test that bomb. And they said, well, okay, go ahead and go with him. He said, I don't want to do that. He said, no, you got to go with him. Tell us what happened. So Joe figured out that the antenna was a little too short, but he wasn't too sure if that's exactly what it was. But it seemed like that's what it was. And Joe has decided the next weekend will be a 1-year anniversary of the killing of Mike Spero at the Virginia Tavern, and he's going to do something that weekend. So he's telling Lyle Neal, who's telling Clark Hamilton, us, that they're going to do something no matter what. Joe Spero says, if we can't find him with this bomb, then we're just going to set it off at the front door of the Villa Capri and stand out in front with shotguns and kill them when they run out. Like, oh boy. So upper management on the police department, we got a live bomb out there somewhere floating around, and we got this plot. And you're in upper management. You get to a point where you got to do something. Even if you blow it apart and no arrests are made, you didn't watch somebody get killed. Several people get killed. It's again, there's some really tricky decisions that are made in these kinds of investigations. So we are sitting on this van. I mean, we got our surveillance van sitting on this stolen car that Joe Spero has hid at a truck dock parking lot. They put a hound dog on it, which is an electronic transmitter that you can track them, so you can't lose that car. We think that's the car they're going to use whenever they take the next action. We don't know where the bomb is. So they sit on it all night, and the sun comes up, and upper management gets together in the chief's office, and they say, we got to take them off now. We can't wait. We're going to take them all off now. Get search warrants prepared for Joe Spero's house, for that car, for the Little Caesars and Metz's house, and bring Lyle Neal in and hide him. So they do all that, and they find the bomb inside that stolen car that they've been sitting on, with a hound dog, which is an electronic transmitter, and the bomb goes off from electronic transmission, and they've been sitting right next to it, and they put that transmitter up when it started sending out a signal about that far from that bomb. So it was, just these things are, I don't know, they're dicey at best. And it never works out like you want it, So they are really trying to, the Civella, of course, this all comes out in the papers the next day, and they charge Joe. They end up going on and having a case, a whole long case against him, and stuff gets leaked to the newspapers, and they know people in the courthouse, and now the Civellas know how hard that Joe has been trying to kill Tuffy DeLuna, and so they got to really start working on him.
I mean, we got a couple of guys who ain't doing nothing but sitting around. I mean, they could jump in a car, ride around and look. Just look, observe. See if they can see his cars, see if they can spot him. Ride by the guy's joint, right up the fucking Liberty even.
Carl Spero chose a country house that the surveillance team found hard to sit on, and the Civellas found it hard to ambush him because of the location.
Willie and JoJo, they got this guy. Willie's done time with him. JoJo says he bought shotguns from him. Willie needs to get a 30-06 off of him.
So they're plotting to go up to Kearney. Well, he lives out in the country, about a 3-acre plot up by Kearney, Missouri. And so they're plotting to get a 30-06 to go out and get him from a distance. There's a later conversation which they're saying, well, I mean, is he that good a shot? He said, and I think Nick Civella says, he said, talking about Willie Comisano, Willie Comisano Jr. He said, he said, he shot deer. He said, deer's moving, aren't they? And Cork says, well, yeah, I guess. He said, we don't have anybody can run up through there, and maybe Ragoose can get it run up through there, but these guys, they're not in any good shape. They can't run across those fields and do anything. And we're sitting down the street, or down the road, half this time or more. Again, it never came to fruition, but you just don't know. So that's Carl's house up in the distance. Early one morning, he has a nephew stand there who's like a teenager. And early one morning, the kid comes out just goofing around, and he sees something underneath Carl's car. Carl's got this Cadillac, and he's sitting out, he doesn't park it in the garage, sitting out in the driveway, and he sees something and goes back in, tells Uncle Carl, there's something hanging down underneath your car. And he comes out, and as soon as he sees there's something hanging down underneath his car, they go right back in, get everybody out, and call the Clay County Sheriff's Office. They come up. They find, I think it was 28 sticks of dynamite in that case up underneath that car. There it is. And I interviewed this ATF agent who was up there, and he said, man, that was overkill. He said, it would have blown off half that house, or the whole house and part of the house across the street. For a car like that, you need about 3 sticks of dynamite. That's all you need. We had another one about the same time that had the same amount of dynamite with the same, it was a mercury switch. I'll tell you guys, you ever want to plant a bomb on somebody, you get a little vial of mercury, a little ampule of mercury, a little glass ampule, and they drill holes in one end, they stick the 2 wires in there, and then you put it like this where the mercury's at the other end. Then when you jostle the car, the mercury shakes up, and it goes to the 2 wires. Once you connect those 2 wires, then it will complete the circuit and explode the bomb. And so if that kid would have walked over and just jiggled that car, it would have gone off. They had the same bomb on it. There was a Chevrolet dealer up at Liberty named Lester Moore. You may have heard of Lester Moore Chevrolet. He was a big-time Chevrolet dealer. He was also a big-time gambler. And they wanted, the Civellas wanted him taken out because he was a support to the Speros. And he came out from his girlfriend's house one day, and he saw something under his car, had the exact same kind of bomb with the exact same overkill on it. Following around the Spero brothers, they're planting bombs. It got a little crazy.
Or any organized crime people, any of the associates, and I looked in front of me, and there was Joe Ragusa. You try not to get too close or too far away. You always think you're burnt. I did not think that he knew I was here. He takes a left, and he made a U-turn. So fortunately, I was back a ways. I figured he was sitting there waiting on me. So I cut back down the one-way street southbound. And about 5 or 6 cars down on my right, as I pull up, I just looked like this, and the car's there. He's sitting in his front seat against the passenger door like this. I don't know if he had a gun or not, because I didn't wait around. I just blew on by him.
Hey, Bobby Arnold, he was my partner all the time in intelligence. We grew up together. We rode horses together on the farms up in Plattsburgh, Missouri. Then we ended up working this thing together. It was kind of cool in a way. But Bobby, yeah, he didn't think he was burned. He's just cruising around by himself. And this guy knew somebody was back there. Well, he thinks it's one of the Speros. It's a guy named Joe Ragusa. And he thinks it's one of the Speros because this guy's, kind of, dressed like this, like they all dress. And he's kind of drifting along behind him, and so he just waits until if the guy drives by and he's sitting there ready to go. They chased me one time away from Spero's car lot. And I don't know, I saw them like alert and jump in their car, so I took off, and they didn't catch me. I hit the highway, and they never did catch me. It was kind of fun messing with them. Joe Spero, he takes a conviction. This is about a year later. He's been convicted of that attempted bombing where we recovered the bomb, and which, by the way, that's the bomb we recovered. It only had 3 or 4 sticks of dynamite in it. He's got more dynamite. He's got like a whole case of dynamite that his brother Carl had gotten over at the Red Apple. If you remember, he's making these connections over at the Red Apple, getting this dynamite and the bombs made. He's got the rest of that dynamite in a storage facility at Liberty Bend, over just south of Liberty, by where the river used to come through there. And he goes over there one day to do something at his storage facility, and the bomb goes off. And you can see how much dynamite went off. That was his car. He was standing somewhere in that general vicinity and totally took out the end of that storage facility. That was overkill, too. We think it was an accident, but there's a couple of mob guys that years later claimed that, yeah, they did that. Or there's an informant that named a couple of mob guys that said they did that. No case was ever made. See, that's the third Spero brother now. We've got Carl left. Carl has moved into a used car lot. I'll wrap this up real quick now. At 12th and Chestnut, right across from the Shady Lady. Have you guys been to the Shady Lady? I know you haven't. And he's dealing in Dilaudid. He's taking stolen property in. He's got a little crew working for him. That's where they chased me that day, sitting and watching them. And there's a highway trooper who goes undercover. We bring him in from out of town. We get a guy out of jail. He's supposed to be in jail, and he agrees to work with us and go into witness protection after it's done. Get Big John, his name is Big John Long, get Big John out of jail, and he works every day with this state trooper, and they make a connection with Carl Spero down at the Virginian, selling this supposed stolen property. It's called a reverse sting. You know, an undercover goes in with a whole bunch of jewelry that you bought and then offer it for them for about a fourth of the price. And you know, they think it's stolen, of course, and you've got the credibility of Big John Long because he was a well-known thief in Kansas City.
At his farm up around Kearney and to buy some Dilaudid. And we went up there and we missed him. So we called him and he said, well, I'm back at the doctor's office parking lot, which is in Claycomo. So we drove back to Claycomo and we met him because he was in his car, his Cadillac. And I got out and got in the car with him and bought Dilaudid from him in the parking lot there at the doctor's office.
Trooper Tom Gray and his informant did not realize the danger of being in close proximity with Carl Spero.
So they're buying, that's Tom Gray, the state trooper. They're buying Dilaudid from Carl Spero. They bought a gun from him, had these cases all made, and then they're going to the car lot at 12th and Chestnut to meet him one day, and they get a call, say, hey, come on back to the office right now. So they get back and say, what's going on? I said, man, he's gone. And they put enough dynamite underneath this used car lot, you know, these little shack kind of offices, and they put enough dynamite under it, it blew him, and that's his wheelchair, blew him up and out into the parking lot. Again, overkill. And it was remote control detonated. See, mob guys, I'm surprised that they use that mercury switch at all. Usually they like to have something where they can see that there's nobody else around, and then you hit the switch. Because you don't want that collateral damage, because that brings down heat like you can't believe. But there they had a remote control switch, and because there was somebody sitting up the street that pulled off immediately when this thing went off. And we know that's who it was. You just don't know who it was. It was never solved. None of these crimes were ever solved. Nobody's ever prosecuted for any of these murders. That's working the mob. Questions?
I'm curious, the murder rate here in Kansas City makes the news a lot lately. How would you compare crime and the murder rate today versus then?
Oh, I mean, these murders didn't add to any murder rate. There's about, 3 of them, you know. Here, we'll lose 3 a weekend now. So, you know, I think citywide, back in those days, it was less than 100. In the 70s, less than 100. got more population, but we also have this thing called crack cocaine that happened, and a lot of other things that have happened in the last 20, 25 years. And guns have happened. I mean, back in those days, as policemen, if you caught somebody with a gun, you just took it. And you put it in the property room and made it hard for them to get back. You don't do that today. You'll go to jail yourself today. Guns are a protected species today, as you guys know. So it's different. But everything's so much different. It's kind of hard to compare. But there's a lot more guns, and the drugs it's all so different today. Wait a minute. I think he's got the... Go ahead.
Could you explain the process of using mercury to complete an electric circuit?
Mercury?
It's an innocent question, I swear.
You got a battery, you got a blasting cap, and you got two wires, and when they go together, the current will then flow from the battery through those two wires that were connected to the blasting cap, and the blasting cap goes off, and the blasting cap is stuck inside dynamite, and then that explosion will then set the dynamite off. The mercury is a conductor. Okay, Wayne.
I'm a huge mobster fan.
Yeah.
I watch everything that comes out on YouTube, whatever.
You go my podcast, Gangland Wire?
Oh, I'll be.
You better go there. One every week.
But when did the demographics start changing of where they had all their businesses? And because we know it's a much larger, different demographic now. And that's where a lot of the shootings and stuff happen. So when did that start?
During that time, during the 70s to into the 80s. And then, like I said, when crack cocaine hit and people started moving, were really starting to move north of the river and way out south in Johnson County in the late 60s and the 70s, that's when it was a 15, 20-year process, but that's as it happened. Now we're moving back into the city and taking back over those places that everybody left.
That just answered my question.
I have a question about all this dynamite. Like, was it less controlled at the time? I mean, it seems, I know like ATF, that's kind of in their wheelhouse now, but you know, it seemed like they had their hands on a lot of dynamite. Was it less sort of regulated back then?
Well, you know, you're dealing with criminals. And criminals go to construction sites where they have dynamite stored. That's what happened. Those firemen down there, they had that thing full of explosives. You go to those that are relatively unprotected. They got that case of dynamite from a construction site in Arkansas. Some guys in Arkansas stole it down there. So,
actually, I was adding to that. The dynamite that came from Arkansas went through a fish market on Minnesota Avenue, and then to be distributed.
You have to say that again.
The dynamite they would get in Arkansas, they brought to a fish market on Independence Avenue and distributed out of there.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I didn't realize
or not
that.
Independence Avenue, Minnesota Avenue.
All right, thank you very much. And
Okay.
that'll wrap up our questions here.
All
Big
right.
round of applause for Gary.
Thanks.
And also remember that he's got the books and videos here as well.
Right, and the podcast is on YouTube, too. Gangland Wire. And I'm working on a book about this, kind of a memoir, but we're not there yet. You ever write a memoir about yourself or put yourself in a book? Oh, my God. Oh, my God. Who's going to read this? You know, what are they going to think? It's tough, but I'm working on it. So I'm done.
Thank you very much, Gary.
Let's see. You need this.
Oh, no, wait, I got the one here. But you got your coffee if you want. As we welcome Jocelyn back to the stage, I want to remind everybody that Kansas City Oasis is a 501c3 nonprofit run solely on donations and volunteers. And so if you like the topic today in the music, please consider donating to KC Oasis. And you can do it through the QR code, through the link, and if you can do recurring, that makes it the most helpful. And speaking of volunteers, I think we have a whiteboard that's empty for the stuff we need for this afternoon. So if you've got some time after the program today, feel free to do that and turn it over to Jocelyn.
Just like to thank you all for welcoming me today. Really enjoyed Gary's stories. That was really excellent. Oh, we was all alone, feeling empty. You came and shared your hand. I was getting off in my heart instead. Do I try? The more I've tried, the more you lied. Now what a ride. You ran and in your soul you were feeling down, out of control. I pray your day has come. Can you feel the spark, or is your nerve numb? Or do I try? The more I've tried, the more you hide. Now what a ride. In the arms of unknown, waiting for seeds that you have grown sown. Like a sign from above, waiting on some twin kind of love for me. And do I try? The more I've tried, the more you lied, hide, cry. Now what a ride. Thank you. I'm Jocelyn Nixon. Check out the creepy jingles. Check out my new songs. I've got a new song coming out next week. It's called Real Deal on the 6th. I hope you check it out. Thank you.
And that'll be available on some of your socials there?
Yes, you can get it on the socials. You can get it on the Spotify, the Apple Music, wherever your music is.
All right, after the program today, if you like, you can join us out for lunch, keeping the conversation going. We'll be at Crown Center this week. So everybody knows where Crown Center is at, 2450 Grand Boulevard. Before you head out, look around. If there's something that's on the floor that's not the chair or you, please pick it up and take it with you on the way out, so help keep the place clean. And remember, there's plenty of volunteer opportunities there. Next week, our featured speaker will be David Rosman. He'll be giving an introduction to American atheists. Right now, we want to also just thank Gary for his presentation, Julie for hers, and Jocelyn. Big round of applause for them. And we will see you next week.